Welcome to this Sahara 4 exercise. In this exercise, we will visualize the patterns, the flow elements that we created automatically in the last exercise. For that, we will open our Sahara project, and now we will go to first let's check the porosity map, so we have the mean porosity inside the flow elements that we will visualize. Now let's click on flow elements. So now we are not seeing any flow element because we are too early on the day. The secondary recovery haven't started yet. Check that all the wells that are active are producers. We don't have any injector. But if we move forward a little bit, we will see the first conversion here, and now we can see that this at this date we had the first conversion in this layer, and at this time the only two wells that are inside the radius that we define when automatically creating the patterns are these two over here. So that means that at this time we will create these two flow elements. Something to consider is that if we keep moving forward, we will see that maybe we'll have more conversions or more layers being open in this more wells being open on this layer. Something useful here is that you can use either these green arrows here that will move forward or earlier in time, 1 month at a time, but also you have available these event buttons here that, as you can see, will move to the next important event that happen on the layer that you are selecting. So in that case, the events will be either new wells being open, new flow elements, or flow elements being erased because the layer has been closed. So let's use them. As you can see here, we have the first conversion, then we have a second conversion and two more wells being open. Now we have another conversion here in 2000, another change, and here we see all the changes in the flow elements over time. Now we can see that, for example, this well was reconverted to producer, so now all these flow elements have disappeared, and then we can keep moving forward and seeing all the different changes in the flow element structure of this layer. Always remember that these calculations, these flow elements, are associated at the layer level, so if I click on other layers, we will be able to see other flow elements. And also the event button is going to reflect on different dates. So for example, let's see in the 17, if we use this button here, we will see other dates because those are relevant for this layer that we are selecting. So we can see the date of the first conversion, for example, that is January 1998. And for 23, the first relevant date, the first conversion, is in this one here in September 1997. So these buttons are quite useful if you just want to look for specific dates that are relevant for the flow element structure. That means closing of different layers, creation of new flow elements, or destruction of previous flow elements because the wells the layers have been closed in those wells, or maybe in that specific case that we review just yet is because an injector was reconverted to producer. um, Something relevant as well to have in consideration is that in the case that you have faults like this, and some of your flow elements are crossing the faults, here we can see some example here. Here we see that these two flow elements are crossing this fault, and that may be or maybe not correct in the sense that this we don't know if this fault is sealing, but in the case that we are sure that this fault is sealing and it will not allow for the flow of this injector to these two producers, we have a tool integrated here that will allow you to erase advanced options, no, patterns and coefficients, and here we will be able to delete all the elements that are crossing faults. As you can see here, we can select the wells, and here we can check if we want to erase those that have both wells selected or just one, and this will look in all the layers, will look for all the cases when we have um, flow elements crossing faults like this, and it will erase the flow elements. So if we know that the faults in our project are sealing, here we can use this option to just erase them. Something else to consider as well is that you may not have, depends on the radius that you use. In the case that you use a higher radius, it's more likely that you won't have such irregular patterns. Maybe you may have something more irregular, something that is less like have this more regular shape. In that case, you may want to do some manual modifications, so you can do it by clicking on this button, um, and doing the modification of the flow elements manually. You can modify it as if they were polygons. So you can do the manual modification there of the flow elements in the case that you have some that may not have the shape, the geometry that you want. Remember that geometry is important because that will influence over the total poral volume and oil saturation that we will have in the flow element. So that will be everything for this tutorial. I hope it was useful and hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching.